All right, our next speaker is Steve Mason. Steve was a representative of the World Health Network, founded in 1998, and is a founding partner in the 2150 program. He was involved in the first importation of the pine needle oil to the United States in 2004. Apparently, pine needle has a lot of benefits, which Steve will talk about. He's been actively involved in informing the public about the effects of the edible version of the pine needle oil. He was recently contacted by a shark from the Shark Tank who was impressed with the health benefits. Please welcome Steve Mason.
Thanks for being here. So, I was turned on to the pine needle back in 2004. I took it for my herniated disc. I had chronic inflammation going down my leg. As Dr. T was talking about inflammation, the pine is anti-inflammatory. And they take it through a special distillation, multi-stage distillation, to bring down the resins below 2% so you could take it internally, because normally you can't take pine internally because it kind of messes up your liver. But by doing this, you get all the benefits. It's antiviral, bacterial, fungal, microbial, tumor, yeast, mutation, inflammation, parasitic. It's all adaptogenic, and it's also restorant. It actually fixes two break DNA strands. And inflammation, like Dr. T was talking about, is one of the chronic things going on with everybody's body usually. And it works with leaky gut, capillaries, hemorrhoids, and it dissolves a biofilm. And if you ever see our bottles do not have the rubber, the glass stop attached to the bottle because it will eat that rubber away. So we give that separate. That's able to those terpenes are able to dissolve the plaque in the arteries to give you more blood flow. So this is one of my first speaks on actually talking about it. I really don't have no degrees, but I have some firsthand knowledge of all the things that the pine has worked on. And in Korea, the FDA approved it for diabetics because it's a natural blood thinner. Keeps the blood platelets from sticking, and that's what diabetes is usually about, is about getting the blood platelets to stick and not flow. So that's why people don't see so good with it, and it damages a lot of blood flow in the lower extremities. I think one of the main things that caught my attention is the energy level from the pine. The pine feeds all the mitochondria, all the ATP energy without making any free radicals. And they did some tests with mice, and they put the mice in water and see how long they can swim, right? Well, the mice in a normal diet will swim about 15 minutes, but the ones on pine can swim for 2 hours. That's a significant amount of energy. So that got my attention. And in fact, after 15 days of being on the pine, all of a sudden, my back pain wasn't there no more. I was like, wow, this pine stuff's pretty good. So I said, hey, I want to sell it. That's how it all came down. I said, okay, I'll be represented in the United States. And back then we started our 2150 program, which is feel like 21 to live to 150. Well, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to clean all your metabolic pathways, which the pine cleanses the vascular system, pluminative system, endocrine system. All those passageways work. All of a sudden the body starts to correct itself, because usually bad diet, greasy foods, all these things kind of clog up your pathways, and that usually causes chronic inflammation and leads to other autoimmune deficiencies. So I was privy to test the pine, and we even got it where we actually were breathing it with a nebulizer inside a far-infrared sauna. And that would really cleanse the body, because the pine pushes everything out through the skin, the pores of the skin. It doesn't push your kidney liver, which is good, so it kicks it out through the skin. So when I first got it, I had my lower extremities look like I had scabs over it. People going, wow, Steve, you got leprosy or something? I go, no, I'm actually cleansing. So it kind of itched and flaked away. It kind of felt good, but that was my first cleanse. And I was like, wow, and I had it on my arms and stuff. And I was like, wow, this pine stuff's pretty powerful, but no one knew about it over here. But then we found it was listed in ancient Chinese medical books over 4,000 years ago. So that's some of the history. And in Korea, they have a whole bunch of research, and I was told to kind of keep my mouth shut about it. So he says, don't translate the research. So I said, well, I'll do a lot of these health shows and kind of just do one-on-one. So that's how I kind of promoted the product, along with a few other products that have pine inside, because pine's a natural preservative. So we put that in our wild plant enzymes, which preserves all those wild plants that are fermented for 3 to 5 years for the gut biome. So it's really good to build up all the beneficial bacteria in the stomach. So what else can I cover? Let's see. And no notes, I'm just winging it. Prevents like macular degeneration, cataracts, and glaucoma as well, because those are usually blood vessel issues, blood flow. So it's good for that as well. Leaky gut's on the list, shingles on the list. There's actually 300 known bioavailable nutrients that are actually produced in the pine needle oil, and will feed everything in your body, cleanse your body, detox the body, gets rid of parasites, and that's another big issue because a lot of people have parasites, and it's anti-parasitic as well. So today I didn't have no slides and nothing, so I just kind of wung it. Susan Downs wanted me to come here a couple years ago. She bought some of my pine, says, hey, this stuff's pretty good. Why don't you talk about it? I go, well, maybe not this year, maybe next year. So here I am this time here today. And let's see, what else can I talk about it? Let's see. I know what. A flyer will make me jog my memory. Oh, yeah, here's a good one. The pine's got alpha lipoic acid. But I heard that recycles the antioxidants to the liver. That's why I'm able to drink a bottle of wine and not really get too affected. So that's my vice. I drink a lot of red wine. And the other thing, restores adrenals functionality. That's what I really noticed. If I'm driving right and someone cuts from me, I just feel that, my reaction. I'm also a drummer too, so it helped my drumming and singing at the same time. And my original job was doing glass blowing. So I was around a lot of heat and stuff. So I never wore sunscreen because my guru in Korea taught me through the emails in Klinglish, because his English wasn't that good, but he's very smart. He read over 60,000 books. He's the one that kind of told me to keep my mouth shut about this over here because I probably wouldn't be around too long, and that's been almost 13 years ago. And I said, well, I probably shouldn't get it out there now, so that's why I'm going to start to talk about it a little bit. And another thing, it donates electrons to your cells, so your cells don't end up dying so fast. Because in life, you only get so many crack-offs in a lifetime. Keep your telomeres long. So basically, you want to slow those down. You want to divide every year and a half or 2 years to live to 150. That's where the 2150 program came in. Because my guy in Korea was really wild about it. He'd breathe 4 hours straight so much that he was cleansing and pus was coming out of his ear because he's cleaning out his brain. And as his whole body was changing. He was really extreme. And I was like, well, I can't do that much. I was doing like 45 minutes, and I felt great. So we started that program, and then we started getting into the gut biome, which once we brought into the wild plant enzymes, because he says 80% of your immune system starts in your gut. So without good, healthy gut flora, you can't fend off diseases or autoimmune deficiencies and those sorts of things. So we brought that in, and the preservative in the wild plant enzymes is the pine. The pine's a natural preservative. And it has a little bit of amber in it as well. And then pine's got the chlorophyll benefits. It's got catechins, lidogens, just tons of things I can't even pronounce. So that was my experience on the pine. And it also decalcifies thy pineal gland, so you get more vitamin D uptake. Because remember, it cleanses every metabolic pathway in your body. So when these things happen, things start to go away. You get sharper vision, better memory. I mean, if you go on YouTube and live pine and look at my testimonies, this one drop of people said they felt. It's like I get crazy testimonies, just one drop. Imagine when you get you're on it constantly. And another thing is, it's actually, I don't know if I went over this, but it's actually approved by the FDA in South Korea for diabetes because it keeps your blood platelets from sticking. So a lot of people are on this Coumadin. You see these like bruises all over their arms. I can usually see that when I'm walking down the hallway. I say, hey, you should try the pine. And sure enough, they kind of get on the pine, and bye-bye goes the Coumadin. And what else did I get here? It's adaptogenic, so it will adapt to everybody. Some people have more cleansing reactions than others. Some people go, hey, your stuff made me sick. And I'm saying, well, I think you're already sick before. It's just now starting to come out. So if you stay with it, or maybe take, because it comes in capsule form as well, maybe take capsule every other day until you cleanse out, and then you can go to 2, 3, or 4, like that. So that's my experience with the pine needle oil, and it's my first time here. It also helps with the neurotransmitters in your brain, and it has a C10H16 molecule, which actually penetrates the brain and blood barrier, so it actually helps cleanse the brain as well. It's very good for that. Hair, nails, skin. Like I said, I don't use sunscreen, because my guy in Korea says, well, the tree stands in the sun all day long, you don't have no sunscreen, right? And I go, that's right. If you're taking out the oil, you don't get burnt. I'll turn it a little red, but that's about it. And let's see, what else can I go over here? Arthritis is on the list, shingles. Mainly inflammation, like Dr. T was talking. Everybody's got chronic inflammation, so the pine works. That's why pine works on psoriasis and also eczema, because that's inflammation of the skin. So what else can I talk about? I was trying to hurry up because I know it's already 9:30 here. You guys have any questions, anything you might want to ask me so I can break up me talking? Sure. Dr. T.
How many needles in one capsule?
Good question. It takes, I heard, a couple tons just to make 5 gallons. So it's very concentrated.
A ton for 5 gallons.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's
Hold
not
on.
that much per capsule.
Yeah, there's actually a lot inside the capsule. I don't know how many individual needles are in there, but that's a good question. I never went and counted them. They do it over in Korea. I actually import it over here, so I don't actually see that process. They actually
When I
have.
take people foraging in Wisconsin in August, one of the food that we eat is pine needles.
Yeah.
Yes, actually it tastes fairly good when you catch them young. When they're just in the early phase, they taste a little bit like lemony. But I wonder how much of that is the oil. Do you have any data on
I don't have
what
any
is-
data with me. I have a lot of it. It's in Korean. I didn't have translated yet. I mean, I got stacks of stuff like that. I've been kind of winging it, so when people ask how much do I know, I can always play dumb. It's like, oh, it's airy fairy, it's pine needle, But the
you
bottom
don't
line
wanna
is,
be, you don't want to be too good of an actor.
well, okay, I know too. That's true. But they say the best needles are on the north side of the tree, the new shoots. So you're right about that. And it's got high vitamin C, chlorophyll. I think it's got vitamin K1. I know that people that are on chemo shouldn't take pine because pine prevents the cells from dying when they want to kill all the cells to kill everything. So that's maybe one drawback. You got another question?
Everything has adverse side effects. What are yours?
Well, I'll tell you one time. Here's a story. I had a meeting one night that was going to be around 8 o'clock, and I said, well, I'm going to go down to the Korean spa and sweat. And I drank about maybe 3.5 ounces of it. It took about 5 minutes because it don't taste that good, right? So I got it down, and I went to the bathroom many times, so everything smelled like pine, so I cleaned everything out, sweated real good. But when I got to the meeting, I couldn't get my words out. It's almost like I was drunk, but I wasn't drunk. That was one side effect I remember. And so far, anybody has any kind of weird disease, anything they couldn't handle, I'm 100%. The only thing it doesn't change your eye stigmatism. That's one thing I found out it didn't do so far. But like macular degeneration, keeps the eyes from producing too many blood veins. That's why you can't see with macular degeneration. And that's the eye part of it that I thought, that's pretty good. So we gave it to a lot of older men in their 80s. So we had a good success with that. Like I said, I can't say we cure anybody, but it actually aids in a lot of departments. Go ahead.
So for the eyes, how are you using it?
Just take it orally, like you take it. It comes in liquid form. It comes in a dropper. Like I said, we don't attach the dropper to the bottle because it'll eat that rubber away after a while. It doesn't take long. But 5 drops in their tongue, or you take a couple capsules. Some people like capsules because some people it's kind of piney. If I do 100 people, I have to take 10 people. Go, oh my God, where's the water? It's kind of funny because I joke. I do a lot of jokes at the show. I say, hey, I'm selling snake oil and stuff, but it's actually the pine. But fresh squeezed. No. Go ahead.
I think I have an idea about how you came to the point where you couldn't really get your words. After you had that big
I drank a
purge.
lot. That's a lot. That's like the most
It's
I did.
called replacing your electrolytes. Because you had a lot of evacuation of
maybe
various
that's it.
materials.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you
I couldn't figure that out. I was like, I
done
couldn't talk. So I was like, okay, where's one side effect?
And then another thing about oils and pine, etc. For example, there's a Doug fir oil that I love that comes from high elevation distillation in Arizona, and it is phenomenal. So much limonene in it. But I ordered some that came from France, and it's terrible. Completely different. So terroir with oils makes a huge difference. Like they've done studies of thyme at 5 different elevations. almost completely different molecular components.
You're right, because this comes from very high elevation and very acidic soil. And some batches vary, sometimes a little more stronger, the other ones a little more buttery. So, and it's all wildcrafted, so none of this stuff is grown in a farm. And we also have a soap that's made with the pine needle and the wild plant enzymes that works on the skin. It's a natural soap with no chemicals, hardeners, and all that kind of stuff. We have that on the live pine side as well. Okay, Cindy, go ahead. Give me a good one.
Hold on, hold on. Wait
Hold
for
on,
the
get our mic.
Have you found anybody who was allergic to it or had?
Well, I had people have, things come out of the body where they thought they were allergic to it, but after a while they stuck with it, their immune system boosted up and they weren't allergic no more. And actually they weren't allergic to nothing no more because it boosts your immune system, like asthma, it'll boost your immune system. But you have to get to that threshold, but some people don't want to wait. They go, oh, that's not for me. So, but, a lot of people in Korea celebrate when they get the big boils come out the back because that's all the toxins coming out. They like it. And my big buddy, Howard, Dave, he had a big old boil coming out his back. He's like, what is this stuff, Steve? I got some toxins you had stuck in you. So, any more questions? Or?
How can you take such high doses when pine needle oil is not usually taken internally?
Well, they have a multi-stage distillation, and they have a special $1 million machine over in Korea that actually brings down the resins below 2%. That's why you're able to take high doses. And we found out the more pine you do, the slower your age, so we were all trying to do as much as we can. So.
Any other questions?
Another one.
So when you were doing the I guess you said you had like a bong and you were in.
Well, I just, I always kid around. It's pine bong. It's actually a nebulizer.
A nebulizer, okay.
Yeah.
And how much did you have in your nebulizer?
Well, I would take a bottle and I'd fill it full of these rocks so I wouldn't have to take too much pine up because it's kind of expensive.
Right.
So I'd fill it up as long as that little plastic cap that we're using would last. I'm down to one left, and I had like 30 of them because the pine will eat that away. But I'm a glass blower, so I have the blueprints now. I want to make them out of quartz glass so they'd last and make them different sizes. And they got the terpenes, it's like the cannabis. They got a lot of terpenes, it's like 60 terpenes in it. So that's why it's able to cleanse the body, protect the body, get rid of the parasites. And it takes time, like I said, 3 months. We always tell people at least take 3 months for the stuff and you'll see effects. But some people feel like, I met one guy, one pill. He was a total vegan. He goes, oh my God, it's like, he was jumping off the walls at the show, So it hits everybody a little bit different. I look at everything like a math equation. Everybody's got a different math equation. How many hamburgers you had? How many steaks did you eat? How many, what do you call that, crusted things?
How do you know that the skin is a boundary layer, and you have boundary layers all through your system? How do you know these excretions aren't coming out through other boundary layers, other tissues, where you don't want this excretion to coming out in the first place?
Well, so far, my first-hand knowledge, I'd have no reports of anything growing inside. It's anti-tumor. I got a couple of vets to give it to the dogs, and all their tumors go away. It's just hard to give to the dogs because the dogs don't like the taste. You have to make a little hot dog and kind of put a little hole in it and let them wolf it down. Huh?
The dogs just act like that.
Yeah, let's wolf it down.
Can you share where in Korea, or was the company in Korea doing this? Like, I happen to travel quite often there, so I was just curious.
It's in Seoul, Korea?
Well, yeah, but do you have the information somewhere?
I have the information, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's thank Steve for coming.
All right.
Now, I think we kind of cut off a little bit of Dr. T's time, so if you don't mind, we can do a few more questions for Dr. T. Any other questions there? Okay.
Your stomach, intestines, and a headache, the connection?
Maybe that's easier. Many symptoms that can be from head to toe because the nervous system is directly affected, including psychiatric conditions, digestive system, the immune system, and the respiratory system, they all are affected by excessive amount of histamine because it goes throughout the whole body and creates leakiness and vasodepression. It affects the smooth muscle contraction everywhere. So you could have symptoms anywhere in the body that are almost instant as soon as you're exposed to high histamine food or as soon as you create secretion of histamine within your gut. And that is so immediate that it explains why so many people have those bizarre symptoms that occur almost instantly after they eat something. It is not from allergies or sensitivities. Sensitivities would be delayed. This is instant. And it's not IgE mediated, it doesn't behave like an allergy. So almost every bizarre symptom that increases as a result of eating certain food in the absence of allergy or sensitivity would be probably histamine intolerance, including headaches, because headaches are often vascular. The skull is not allowing too much expansion of the blood vessels when they want to expand. Any other question? Yeah?
Hold on.
I'm sorry, I didn't get to hear the dates of your Nepal trip.
October 17th through the 29th. We arrive on the 17th in the morning or the 16th in the evening. You can arrive a day or 2 days earlier if you wish. It's okay. We will meet you at the airport and take you to the airport. So you are escorted the whole time. You're safe. You know, the only thing that I cannot guarantee is that there won't be another earthquake. But the chances of that are very slim. I've been there for 18 years, taking groups there at least 30, 35 times already. And we never had any incidents. Everybody came back home safely and healthy. So you're invited to join. On the Ecopolitan website, or just send an email to Angie, clinic@ecopolitan.com. It's in your skin flyer.
So earlier, I saw you have slides talking about essential oil. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Right. This was not about essential oils. It was about the active molecules that have been scientifically isolated and validated that are taken out of the essential oils. Those are examples. And I carry something like that in my pocket all the time because this is my protection. And that's what I tell people who come with me to Nepal to use. I don't want to be marketing anything right now, but these are generically the most powerful plant molecules that have been scientifically validated in the literature. Each one of them has hundreds of studies proving its efficacy. And that's what you would have inhaled in nature. Pine needles also have volatile components within them, which makes them medicinal. Anything that you can smell is the result of the volatile nature of some of those partially polar molecules. And these bioactive plant fraction molecules can dissolve both in oil and in water, semi-aqueous solution and oily solution. So they can cross the blood-brain barrier and they can cross the other membranes in the body and enter the cell and do activities there in addition to protecting the cell membranes themselves. The validation was over the last 50 years. Everybody knows about tea tree oil, for example. But most people in the last 10 or 20 years were interested in why it is actually so effective. And they wanted something predictable. They didn't want something that would change from season to season, from elevation to elevation, from growing conditions to growing conditions, and manufacturing process that would vary. To avoid all of the inhibitory molecules that are found in every essential oil, which is defined as the composite of all the molecules extracted from a specific plant. If you extract everything, it includes also the inhibitory molecules. Why is a tomato staying intact until you scratch it? It has inhibitory molecules that prevent the degradation process. And they prevent the active molecules from doing their job when they're not necessary to protect the plant itself. We are the bystander, opportunistic mammals that enjoy the presence of those primordial molecules that existed before we did. And we grew
with them in our environment, inhaling them every second of our lives since the first moment we were born, and enjoying the benefits that are causing us to be less microbiologically attacked, more defended, more immunologically competent. They send messages, chemical messages to the microbiome and to the colonies, microbial colonies and their biofilms, telling them to retreat, telling them that it's not good for them to expand at our expense. So it's not an all-out war like an antibiotic. It's more of a symbiosis. You live together with the microbes in your body without trying to kill and cause all the horrible effects of an all-out war. So you can coexist with bacteria instead of continuously fight it. Those are the bioactive plant fraction molecules. There are quite a few of them. Terpene 4-ol is an important one that comes from tea tree oil. There's limonene, somebody mentioned earlier. There's nerolidol, there's cineol, there's farnesol. Each one has its own important functions that have been proven scientifically. And the only way to know that you're getting them and no inhibitory molecule that actually prevent them from doing their job is to purify the product to have nothing in it except for those molecules. That's why they're so powerful. One drop here is the equivalent of maybe a whole bottle of essential oil. You don't need much. You can inhale just a little bit and you're getting huge amount of benefit. And people who diffuse it all night long, they get so many benefits. You know, people with CPAP, you know, people with problems breathing at night, people with chronic sinus infection, but not just for the respiratory tree. It's like antibiotics going straight into your blood. It goes through your lungs. So you don't have to go through the liver and the entire metabolism that goes in that direction. It's better, you know, that's what I give anybody who goes to the dentist. You know how dentists want to give you antibiotics for every little thing nowadays? Just inhale that and you get antibiotics. It's better than antibiotics because it goes into the blood, not just through the gut. And you can also put it on your skin. One of the products is called Skin Plus or antioxidant in another variety. And that one has farnesol, which can kill even the most lethal E. coli that is affecting people in hospitals today. Each one of them has amazing benefits, and that's why one is specific for the skin and inhalation, another is for immune system and inhalation, and another one is specific for the respiratory system or respiratory tree. So that's about that. Thanks for asking.
One thing about antibiotics, and Dr. T alluded to it, one dose can wipe out intestinal flora, the healthy and the bad, and then you've got dysbiosis, and to rebuild the gut is challenging. Question, Dr. T, what about olive leaf extract or oregano as far as like compared to terpenol?
Right. Oregano is another essential oil if it is the pure oreganol, which is so powerful and so difficult to tolerate. It will burn you if you even touch it, let alone swallow it. So it has to be heavily diluted. These don't have to be diluted. So that's the first thing. You dilute it significantly with olive oil, then it's reasonably okay, but sometimes it's diluted with oil that are not very healthy. Assuming that it's good quality oregano, it's actually a very good product for certain skin fungus and other skin conditions, and I often recommend it in alternation with the skin product, which is the antioxidant in this series. It's also known as Skin Plus when you get it from another distributor. And that one, alternating with oregano oil, is proving to be a very healthy combination, because if you only use one type, any microbe can get used to it. It's good to alternate one day of this, one day of that, and it's more broad spectrum activity than just relying on oregano. Oregano has also other benefits, you know, for swallowing, for sore throat, for tonsillitis, and so forth. But these would do similar jobs. Sometimes I would alternate. You know, I'm not saying that these are the only things in the world. I like oregano and I recommend it. And the other thing that you mentioned, olive leaf extract, is very well known as an antiviral, and it has its place. Again, you get many other components in it that you don't know about the production, cleanliness, purity, and activity. So you can get good products or bad products even from the same manufacturer without knowing which is which. Again, if you have a good quality product, it's beneficial for its own specific things. This is more general. This is broad spectrum. This is what everybody should have because they would have inhaled it. Olive leaf, you wouldn't inhale every day of your life. But this you would, because in the tropics or in the forest, every second, what makes you feel good in nature is inhaling these types of molecules that are volatile. And these are the active ones that protect you.
I was wondering what the difference in mechanism for like a DAO versus like a antihistamine, like an allergy medicine?
Antihistamines work at blocking the immune response. So you stop the release of different inflammatory components from certain immune cells. DAO does not interfere with the immune response and immune component. It simply goes to work in the gut, breaking down the histamine itself. So it's at the end, the tail reaction, the tail end of the reaction. You made histamine, rather than fight whatever made it, and I always tell people to avoid certain foods, and I give them a list when they have high histamine in the stool, how to avoid excessive histaminosis. But inevitably, people will eat certain foods that are rich in histamine. Let's be realistic. And in those situations, I tell them to take DAO. And then it just works on that histamine. It breaks it apart.
So if you have like an allergy of some type, what if you just took antihistamines beforehand? That would not do it? Like, it would still
If you
produce.
are secreting histamine as a result of IgE-mediated allergic response, I don't think DAO will do the job because you're not trying to break down histamine in your gut. It's already in your system causing an anaphylactic shock. You already are losing fluid into your tissue. You are about to have hypovolemic shock. You need to have it stopped, right? Like you do with epinephrine. It needs to be like Benadryl. It's a different mechanism. It's not just breaking down the histamine, it's stopping the secretion of it and blocking the activity of it. It's not destroying histamine. It stops its activity in opening up the blood vessels and creating the vasodepressive effect and the smooth muscle of the blood vessels. Here you're just breaking the histamine itself with a DAO. Hope it answers your question.
Regarding the gut, you had a list there of foods. And a lot of them, I mean, like you had cheese. Seems like cheese was a thing that's universally in cultures from all over the world. And how could that be?
Yeah, we just said that almost the whole world is inflamed today. You just said it yourself.
Yeah.
Humans find ways to eat even when nature does not provide. One way to do that, if you try to survive north of the Alps, is to ferment foods so that they would last. Once they're spoiled, they cannot spoil any further. And then you have some sources of calories during the long winters when there's nothing else to eat under the snow. So you preserve things. Preservation helps us survive, but survival is not always compatible with good health. And you end up paying a price somehow. If you had to survive north of the Alps, it's only because you happen to be born there, and it's very recent that humans have made it into Northern Europe. Only in the last 25,000 years. Before that, there were no humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, only other hominids, like Homo neanderthalis and Homo erectus. But Homo sapiens sapiens only arrived in Europe for the first time less than 25, maybe at the most 30,000 years ago. And then they had to somehow survive. So
but the French started making cheese right away.
No. It took quite a while before they domesticated the cows that made the milk, that had to be fermented, that had to be processed to make that cheese that we became addicted to. And that's the thing. Fermented foods are always addictive. they produce, as a part of fermentation, very simplistic dipeptides and even monopeptides that directly act as neurotransmitters. And that's why once we get them from the outside in quantities that in nature we would never have had, in nature we would manufacture those peptides or those amino acids or derivatives slowly through metabolism, they would come into the brain as we need them. But now we are so stimulant or so rewarded through the reward cascade, and we end up really wanting more. That's why people who start with kombucha never end. They have to have more and more, or they become highly irritable people without drinking it. They just need to have the fix.
So we have time for one more question, but if you can keep the response kind of short there.
Okay.
We have to clear out of here by 10 o'clock, guys.
Hi. Some of the fish, like tuna, contain the mercury. Does the seaweed contain mercury too?
It might, but the quantity will be a lot smaller, especially if it's harvested in the right place, based on the fact that metabolism in seaweed is not the same as metabolism in animals. They're not going to bioconcentrate to the same level. Unfortunately, it's hard to find food from the sea that is clean today. But seaweeds are a food that we would have had a lot of, easily collected. And I still think we need to eat seaweed and try to have it from a clean source. And if not enough, then you'll need supplementing iodine and so on, and sulfur. You need to supplement sulfur. That's why we have the sulfur-rich salt, which is the healthiest salt in the world. It gives you a regular source of sulfur every time you eat salt. And by the way, one little thing that you would be interested in hearing, that's one thing that you would like to hear that. You know that smell when you allow the salt to touch your saliva, or when you allow it to touch water? That smell of rotten eggs that people sometimes don't like, sometimes they do like. That smell, it comes from hydrogen sulfide. That's a gas that you find in hot spring spas. High sulfur-rich areas which you really feel healthy at, and you think it's because of the hot water and the minerals in the water, but it turns out that one of the real reasons why we feel so good in those places is we inhale hydrogen sulfide. Wow. It's been proven recently to protect your mitochondrial function, reduce mitochondrial oxidative stress, and improve energy production. In many type of conditions now, some people are manufacturing expensive devices that will allow you to inhale hydrogen sulfide, rotten eggs, whenever you have a chance to feel better, like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and so on. But with this salt, you don't need any of those. You just need to sprinkle it in a little water and inhale the gas. And after you inhale it, you still have the salt with its own sulfurous compound to enjoy for detoxification and anti-aging.
Okay, we've got to quit, guys. So let's thank Dr. T and Steve. Our next meeting is August 18th. Hope to see you back again. And we have to be out of here by 10 o'clock.